welcome to the rocket scientists that review old LEGO classic space sets from the time period 1978 to 1987. Today we will review the LEGO set 6861 X-1 Space Patrol. The Space Patrol was released in 1980. It came with 55 bricks and it also included a red monochromatic spaceman as seen here. Included for the spaceman was a walkie-talkie. Let's talk about the dimensions. I measured the length of the craft to be 160 millimeters, which should equal to 6.29 inches. The wingspan I measured to be 162 millimeters, which is about 6.4 inches. And the height from ground here to the top part of the aileron was measured to be 55 millimeters or 2.17 inches. If I place the spacecraft on a scale without the spaceman, I measured that to be 70 grams or 2.45 ounces. So what do we have here? Well, we have some sort of a spacecraft with a double delta wing platform with a T-tail section here. So, as said in many previous reviews of similar craft, this should be a craft that can enable atmospheric type of flying, since it have wings and wings provide lift. The craft also has two rather big rocket nozzles on the rear part here with two trans red colored cylinders indicating a flame, I guess. The craft also have a pair of reaction control thrusters as seen here with red navigation lights on top. The craft also has a pair of aerials or antennas, and you see that the astronaut is sitting here with this classic gray and black steering wheel, and as a windscreen he has this trans green brick here as window. In the front you have the famous classic space logo on this slope brick. On the front part you have this antenna piece and a pair of spikes here, which leads into the rocket engines, which you have two of. So you have this type of arrangement around the astronaut, and you're using a pair of landing leg pieces to make this engine design. Beneath you have four cylindrical pieces which acts as a landing leg and can also act as a rocket jet for taking off or braking the landing. When looking at the design, it's a fairly classical design of the early classic space with this all gray or this gray colored layout, and with these fins and tail sections and this slope brick, typical for the time area. The design is of the craft is very similar to a craft they had in the Beta 1 command base set, which was released in the same year, 1980. What do I mean with similarity? Well, I have the craft here. So here you see the spacecraft from the Beta 1 command base set. You see the arrangement on the engines. It's very similar to what they did on the X-1 craft. You have a wider sitting position here. You could seat 2 persons here, and you have a wider sloped brick on the front there. So I guess they both has, the purpose of this is maybe to be some sort of interceptor vehicles. Because when looking at the designs, you get the impression of speed here. Aggressive, big nozzles, powerful. It's look like some sort of a fighter interceptor. Okay. In respect to design, I have decided to give this a score of 5. I think it's a really cool design. Very typical for the time area as mentioned, and share many similarities with other crafts of similar and bigger size. Playability. Yeah, it's fairly easy to handle, but it's also easy to break off the parts, especially these front cones and the big nozzle pieces, and especially the antenna pieces are very easy to tip off. Now this set is some years old. Of course, bricks can become a little loose with age. So, but these one I would guess would easily fall off, even brand new. So not the best design with respect to robustness. Other than that, I have nothing much to say on the playability, so I gave it a score of 3 because there are many parts that easily come loose when playing with it. Nostalgic Force. Well, I never had the craft myself. I kind of remember it, but it never took my attention in any way. So, but still brings me some nostalgic feelings by looking at it, because it shares so many similarities with it has this old design DNA of classic space, which I like a lot. So therefore I decided to give it a score of 4. So total as toy score, I have then come up to a score of 12. Let's talk about rocket design engineering. Well, the wings and the tail, T-tail section indicates aerodynamically capable craft. So that's all good, but you have this guy sitting here, and he will be exposed to a lot of drag force when flying through atmosphere. So, and he will also disturb the airflow around the T-tail section here. So it's not the best aerodynamical design in that respect. The reaction control system is almost good, but you can see here that the jet will collide with the wing structure here, which is really bad. The good thing is the landing leg. It's provides some ground clearance, but if this was an engine, it would collide easily with ground and you will have trouble, which is not good. And the volume is a little too small for such a craft. It would not be able to store much of volume of propellant, so the range would be very, very short for such a craft. So in reality, this type of craft would be much bigger. So in respect to rocket design engineering, it's just a 1 from my side here. So the total score for the X-1 Space Patrol comes up then to 13. I don't have the instructions, so I will leave that for today. So that's all for today. If you have any comments, please do not hesitate to provide them. And if you like my reviews, then consider subscribing to my channel as well. Bye for now!